Albie, we've had a full-scale tri-state media Donnybrook today. Full-scale tri-state media.
And you on paternity leave and everything.
Donnybrook today. My goodness.
Haven't managed to stay out of it.
I made a good point last evening, Alice.
As always.
I had just... By the way, I have had a problem with the sign language people for a long time, for a bunch of years now, probably culminating during COVID. There is this movement of sign language interpreters who are more into social emotional learning, or something is happening. There's something that looks and feels to me very much like something woke is happening. And some of these people during
I'm told
COVID,
that the expressions are important for tone.
Well, most of these people are. I mean, so a lot of these people around COVID were just nuts. Some of them got famous. And just really, really, the intonation. I was terrible with having the one here in Massachusetts with Charlie Baker was terrible. And Whitmer had one that was nuts. And they would just go over the top. And the problem is this.
It is not a thing I recall being around before COVID, really.
Yeah. And so the problem is this, is that, and by the way, they work in batteries. The way these people work now for government is there's one in the audience in the first row, too. And they're giving signs to the person signing on who's on TV next to the podium. So it's like supplemented or undergirded by a second person. And then in some states, I did a lot of research on this, some states have a third person in the bullpen. Because they say that signing can be so arduous, you can't do it more than an hour. Well, I assume that if you're doing what looks like the Jabberwocky Running Man, that would be arduous. If you just calm down and did sign language stuff like we used to have before everything had to be about us, then you could. Now, so I tweeted last night because not only was I seeing sign language people everywhere, but I was seeing the court drawing that we talked about, Sam Bankman-Fried, and I thought really that the court person is just like a lot of these sign language people, performative people that I'm seeing. I'm talking about the wacko ones. I'm not talking about people. I have no problem with deaf people. No problem with sign language. I think it's great, and I have no problem with sign language interpreters, with exceptions. And those exceptions, I have a problem because they're making it about themselves. Like, why are you being so performative next to Charlie Baker? I know you because you're on stage. Is that what this is? Is this theater? And a lot of it is theater. And this just over the top stuff with expressions. They say they have to do it because it emphasizes themselves. Maybe it does, but I'm calling BS. I don't believe it. I don't believe that's why we're doing this mostly. And people say, like, you've said that. Well, okay. So anyway, I tweet this thing out yesterday.
Okay.
Frank Fleming is good on Twitter. Tweeted, wait, this is a real courtroom sketch of Sam Bankman-Fried? I thought it was a funny joke based on a horrible drawing of Carolina. And I retweeted that, quote-tweeted that, saying, can we toss these artists and the wacko enthusiastic sign language people, too? Just because the governor is mentioning social distancing doesn't mean you have to do the Running Man. And I've been, in the past, reticent to say things like this because then you're dealing with an issue that's near the disabled community. But then I thought, you know what? There's no way that I'm the only one who feels this way. Because it's BS. I'm not kidding. To which Ryan Breton, Alice, Fox 61 News. For some reason, this drew out the TV people.
Well,
Meteorologist from Fox 61 in Connecticut says, if you're referring to Lewiston, hope you realize some of the victims and their friends were deaf, which is why there was a particular focus making sure an interpreter was on camera. Seems like a pretty fair accommodation, and a little kindness can go a long way. So he found the opportunity. He sees the opportunity there. Wait a second. I can nudge this into Lewiston because that court artist people have been saying a lot of things about this person. So I can make this about Tom being insensitive to deaf people, and then I've caught a real fish here. Yeah! It's a grown man doing this. Okay? And I did see some stuff about the Lewiston thing yesterday, but I've also just been compiling in my mind. I just see this stuff way too often. And so I just said back to him, it's a symbolic virtue signal, which of course it is. If the government in Maine prioritized the safety of citizens over the performative measures, then maybe this tragedy could have been averted. Less emphasis on theatrical sign language persons and more looking into dumpsters. And then I said, the point is, The point is the communication. The theatrical signing person is a distraction. We could also have interpreters in 11 languages on stage. There's no limit. But to have that signing person be the biggest spectacle on the stage is a mistake and underserves everyone. It did when our governor was delivering us misinformation during COVID, and it does here, and everyone knows it. To which he says, just take the L on this one, Tom. Which I have a problem with a grown man saying, just take the L. If this is here's my, and maybe this is why TV guys are TV guys and they're not radio hosts. If you're saying everything that everybody else says in the year that you are with,
how it started, how it's going,
exactly, then don't say that because you're like everybody else. So anyway, so there's that, and he was salty. Then more incoming, Alice.
Mm-hmm.
David Wade,
okay,
who's a local guy, who was most famously married to Bianca de la Garza, which is, I mean, you can only say, we tip our hat to David Wade for that. He's kind of a staple now. He's been here at least 20, 25 years. He says, Tom, the wacko sign language people are incredibly helpful to the hearing impaired. The facial expressions help convey tone and the full meaning of their message. Not sure why this would bother you, knowing it provides an invaluable service to the people in the deaf community.
Is that what bothers you about it?
Well, here's the thing.
The fact that
yes.
it's providing invaluable service to the deaf community?
I don't want the deaf to have any...
invaluable services.
Yes, no. I know there's enough. No, I want the fully hearing to have invaluable services. So here's... The fact is that less than half people who are deaf actually speak sign language. I can't imagine in the state of Maine that there are many deaf people around. I understand that they were just gone down. It's a very sad thing, et cetera, et cetera. But the point of the press conference is not to... I mean, the crucialness of communicating with the deaf community in Maine was before the shooting, probably. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we need all Mainers to be on the lookout, to be vigilant, to be looking around.
Right.
And so that's why when you have this person doing jumping jacks next to the governor who's trying to speak, that's not good. Communication is key. And I understand, it's helping one person, it's emphasis. Is that so bad that bothers you? It's because we're playing reindeer games here where real stuff was happening. Same with the sketch artist person in the court. We just need you to do your job, that's it.
Yeah, just draw the people.
Yes, just draw the people, absolutely.
Or better yet, these courts could join the 21st century and have cameras in the courtroom.
Right.
Like some courtrooms do.
Right.
In some states.
So I said to David Wade, who went after me, I said, David, I assume that it would enhance the value of your newscasts if you had one of these people flailing about over your shoulder every night, right? Eventually, he didn't really give... obviously, do you think news people want their shot, one of these people in their shots?
Of course not.
No, they're in the put the camera on me business, Of
course.
This is what it's about. So they're not... They could, but they're not. But don't the deaf people...
deserve to hear their news?
Yes, right?
It would provide them
not
an
that
invaluable
much.
service.
They're not doing it, They absolutely could, but it's fine. And they know they can't get, it's hard for a TV guy or TV people to engage. By the way, I like David Wade. I've heard he's a good... My guy, Dave Andelman, vouches for him. But he can't, with his TV personality, he can't really engage any more than he already did. He did apologize and say he got over-emotional because his son has hearing impairment, whatever, which I get. It's fine. It's nothing personal. I have no problem. But there is a problem with too many people making their jobs about themselves now. Too many people. And in big spots. And I hate that. I think it's terrible. And whether or not it's a
well, the prime example being Fauci, right? Like,
oh, well, yes.
Who he made that the MO during the pandemic of,
right.
Instead of being the useful public health expert that I could be, I'm going to choose to turn myself into a huge star. Exactly.
And yes, I'm going to lie to be a bigger star, but it's the noble lie, right? It was in the direction of doing good.
Mm-hmm.
So fine. The sign language interpreter person is doing squat thrusts and triple lindies next to the person speaking. And yes, they're getting notoriety, and yes, they're becoming famous, but it's in the march for it's the effort for something good. They're trying to do something good. So why does it bother you so much? It bothers me so much because there are some people who I just need to do the actual job. And like even with like Starbucks, they want to be revolutionaries, and they want the Jews massacred now, which is what all of the Starbucks unions
have
exactly have come
decided,
out with. Shocker of all shocks. Just pour the fucking coffee. There comes a time when that's all I need you to do. You know, in my role, I am a bleep talker. I am paid to do it from 10 to or 11 to 2 every day. And I bring people on, and they're allowed to yell at me and say mean things to me, etc., etc., etc. But I never like do the weather or try to one up the news guys or I never go. I am in my lane the entire time. I'm doing the talk radio from the time I'm supposed to do the talk radio, and then when commercials come, I stop, and that's it. Somebody's paying you to do your job. Just do your effing job. I don't understand, like, how, and that's what I worry about when you talk about like millennials and stuff, and they're bored and they're quiet quitting and they don't want to do like, oh my god, I think you had sent something yesterday with a girl saying like, I'm supposed to do this for 40 hours. Yeah, just shut up. I know that you would rather be tearing down posters of kidnapped Jewish people because it makes you feel like a cool revolutionary. But we have to get back to the basics where your job, and by the way, and I'll give it to David Wade here, who we like.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't use his newscast to editorialize and make himself feel good and, for personal clout. He doesn't. When he's on the news, he does his job. And that's what we need. But we're having more people not doing the thing they're supposed to do, and it stinks. We know somebody who does, who is on or was during COVID on a lot of Zoom calls, and one of the people in the Zoom call was a furry, dressed like a furry, like a blue, a chipmunk or something. No. Just do your effing job. This is not about you, which is one of the reasons why like these institutions are being destroyed, why morale is down in the military. It used to be everybody got their hair cut off, everybody got whipped into shape, and there was no individualism. Right. You were your unit. You all looked the same, essentially. There's different colors of people there, I guess. But all of you had been whipped into shape. You all speak the same way now. You all use the same customs with saluting and all this stuff and deference to officers, etc. You're drilled. Your individuality is taken out of you, and that's how it should be. Because you need to be a person who's strong, flexible, durable, and trained to the yin-yang, because all that matters is that when chaos occurs, your training kicks in and you can shoot the bad guys. That's all that matters, or the equivalent of. That's all that matters. But now with the military we got fat units of trans people bopping around, showing us their individuality. That's not good.
Right.
It just degrades everything. Which is the whole point, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, because anytime people are allowed to make everything about themselves and then everybody else now has to miss the point of the whole exercise, no matter what you're doing. Did you get the high school debate championship clip that I sent you?
Yes.
Where it's on Zoom. So I did high school debate, which I loved, actually. Surprise, surprise. I have awards from it downstairs. Do we have my gavel? Where's my gavel?
Did I know you had a gavel? Oh,
I have a speaker award gavel. I have got speaker awards at lots of debate tournaments, actually. Yeah, so I had a gavel that I wanted one of them as one of my trophies, which was like my favorite thing. But anyway, but there was this high school debate championship tournament, and so this is a critique argument that they use in this clip, but which existed when I was there, but this is not the best showing of where young people are going.
Thousands of demonstrators demand that New York City do more to help those suffering from AIDS. Resistance took the form of non-cooperation.
So they're listening to this cut from the 80s, obviously, and then they'll react to it?
Yeah, and is this from the beginning? Is that the beginning of it?
Yeah, it's 5 seconds in, yeah.
So anyway, they're supposed to be debating the IMF.
International Monetary Fund.
Mm-hmm.
Demonstrators had to be dragged to paddy wagons, many shouting as they were carried away. Do you think you really accomplished a great deal?
Yes, I think we do. What else can we do? I've done everything. I've called everybody. I've had appointments with everybody. I've got to come to City Hall and state my case. We're dying. The city is dying.
I don't know that man's name, but I know a little of the hopelessness and the horrible sinking fear in his voice. Here's how I prepped for the TOC. I woke up a week before and learned that 28 instead of 27 states wanted to kill me.
The clip I played is from the 1987 ACTA protest in New York City. It was not the first and certainly not the last demonstration of its kind. It joins a tradition of trans and queer protest against institutions and to reform communities that are violent and exclusive. We are here to join this tradition in our own small way. So welcome to the protest. We are tired of how debate treats trans people. More than that, we are tired of the way that
So what is happening?
So a critique is a type of argument in debate where you, instead of like addressing the question that you're supposed to be debating, you use like critical theory to go after the premise that you're arguing. So what this person is saying is that essentially, as a form of protest, they're going to, instead of debating the IMF, complain about how debate in the United States in general treats trans people, of which they are one.
Oh, I see. Okay. So this is now an emergency debate about how they're being killed.
Right.
Treatment is normalized, how it is treated as a necessary byproduct of having good discourse. When a nationally ranked team is bold enough to read arguments and make trans people uncomfortable in front of an 11-person panel and not be called out for it, something needs to change. When a trans kid can go 3 years in debate believing being misgendered was simply something he needed to take in order to win ballots, something needs to change. When almost every trans person quits debate or considers quitting several times a month, several times a week, several times a day, something needs to change. First, the framework. Status quo political discourse remains fixated on the notion of the child, symbol of a future society we must protect. Baden 12. Politicians universally frame their debaters around the question of what policies are best for children, who keeps the child safest. Politics, however supposedly radical, is simply the universal movement of submission to the ideal of the future, to preserve, maintain, and upgrade the structure of the society, and to proliferate them for all the sake of the children. It is for this reason queerness finds itself missing from political discourse.
So
sound familiar? It should.
This
Still having
person is reading and ranting. She's ranting and reading and building herself up.
Yes. So you go to traditional debate, you speak really fast so that you can get as many points in as possible, and you read your prepared points. Yeah.
Oh.
Generally speak faster than that, typically, actually. But yeah, the year that I did it, it was the question was about eliminating the use of nuclear weapons. Mm-hmm. And
oh God, a bunch of Lexington know-it-alls. Our
case that we generally did was to like ratify the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. So, and but then we get into arguments over the definition of use, and is the banning of, and is the Test Ban Treaty, because it's just testing, is that really the use of nuclear weapons, etc. So anyway, but yeah, so the great part about this too is that team won. The other team refused to say anything transphobic, so they just essentially ceded the ground and agreed with them, and then the judges praised them for their bravery, and they won.
Great. Which is precisely, of course, along the lines of nobody doing their job anymore.
So, there you go. Everything's about me. We're not debating the IMF today. We're debating me and how I feel. That's what we're doing now. And then you get rewarded. Then you get an A in school, and that's that.
Yes.
You get a nice pat on the head, and the teachers all say, "Wow, great job." It's like the person that got into college by writing Black Lives Matter on the application 500 times or whatever.
Yes.
It's like this is what they're taught to do instead of school now.
Right, because it's more important. Yeah, this is life and death. Mm-hmm. And of course, yeah. Which brings me to another person who doesn't do what they're supposed to be doing is Cori Bush. This is a member of Congress, Cori Bush.
Percentage. So you're saying that you're saying that they're paying their fair share is what you're saying.
No, I'm asking what percentage is a fair share.
Their fair share, the same, if a third of my money is going to taxes, then I think a third of their money should be going to taxes. Well, it does.
I'm trying to understand because you realize the effective tax rate on the poor is less than it is on the rich, right?
Okay, so first of all, I'm not the poor. I'm very close to that line, but I'm not the poor.
Okay, so the effective tax rate on the middle class is less than it is on the rich, correct?
She doesn't know things about policy because she's not in this for policy.
Of course.
She's in this to sit with Twinkies on the Capitol steps and demand that there's no more, what's it called when you kick somebody out of their apartment? Evictions. That's right.
Yeah, she got a nice community note on one of her tweets yesterday, too, where she tweeted out that this month I co-sponsored a resolution condemning Hamas for hostage-taking and urging their immediate release. We must ensure the safe return of all hostages. So there was a reader's added context. Cori Bush's resolution did not condemn or mention Hamas or call for the release or mention the hostages. Bush also voted against the House resolution condemning Hamas. So
this is one of the things that happens when you use alarm tactics and you try to motivate people through fear and tell people that there are boogeymen everywhere, and then you're stuck with the boogeyman narrative, which is why people hate this administration. For instance, here's Peter Doocy talking to John Kirby about domestic terrorism.
Thank you. John, the people in this country making violent anti-Semitic threats, are they domestic terrorists?
I don't know that we're classifying people as domestic terrorists for that. I mean, that's really a question better left to law enforcement. I'm not aware that there's been such a characterization of that.
Oh, I see. I don't know why who would have thought that.
Characterize that. No.
Okay. The FBI director said today, the ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of an attack against Americans in the United States to a whole nother level. Has the White House considered the possibility that a terrorist could be in the country right now after crossing the southern border?
Peter, we are always concerned about the potential presence on U.S. soil of terrorists coming from overseas. That's something we're always worried about.
And this is why I hope John Kirby gets paid well, because he's having to knock down all of the houses of cards that this administration has built over the past 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's, unlike Karine Jean-Pierre, he's competent at answering questions.
Well, that's a great point. Yes.
Because he understands the question that's being asked of him and at least tries to spin the answer into something that addresses the point at hand.
Yes.
He doesn't just read something about Islamophobia when people ask him about anti-Semitism and hope that works.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. He doesn't have a trapper keeper. He says, "Okay, is the honest answer to this constructive? No. Okay. Of the fictional answers, what's the best one for this?" He does the job like you're supposed to.
But there was this bulletin last week. The CBP in San Diego said militants associated with the Israel-Hamas war may be potentially encountered at the southwest border.
You're talking about the San Diego...
Yeah. Is there any heartburn around here? 600,000 known gotaways just in the last fiscal year.
Yeah.
Is there any heartburn about leaving the border in such a condition that one of those 600,000 could be a terrorist?
So let me just break this down for you just a little bit here. First of all, I can't speak to this intelligence report that was leaked to the media. I wouldn't do that. I can tell you that we are constantly monitoring, as best we can, all ports of entry to the country.
The fact that intelligence report was leaked to the media and was not shared with the White House tells you that they know there's a problemo.
For the potential arrival of anybody who might wish us harm. And one of the things that the president asked for in this supplemental was additional funding for border security, for like 1,500 more Border Patrol agents and better
the Republicans in Congress who've let the terrorists in.
Technology at the border. I mean, so again, we would urge Congress to take a look at that supplemental request and pass it. But if the general gist of your question is, are we taking the potential threat seriously? Of course we are.
And one last follow-up by Ducey.
General gist was, is it possible that somebody who wants to commit a terrorist attack during a time of elevated threat crossed the southern border into the United States already?
I couldn't possibly answer that question, Peter. All I can do is tell you that we have remained vigilant to that potential threat.
Yeah, I should have added one. So Kirby has a choice. The factual answer that would be counterproductive, or three different or a handful of false answers to give, or an answer with a nod to the fact that he's going to need a gig after this gig.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But once again, people just are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is why we're in this problemo. Now, go right ahead.
I was going to say that there are some new clemency guidelines coming out from Maura Healey in Massachusetts for us today. I don't know if you saw this story at all.
I just saw that she's in the news.
Yeah, so new clemency guidelines coming out, which I like. One of the reasons why, one of the things that I didn't have a problem with Healey is that I considered her like kind of tough on crime just because she's a prosecutor and, you know, that has, you know, prosecuted a lot of like fentanyl rings and stuff in the state. She's done some of that stuff. So, but anyway, Healey promising more compassion overhauls state's guidelines for pardons and commutations. Vowing to inject more compassion into clemency, Maura Healey said today that she will weigh a host of factors when considering requests for pardons or communications. Any guesses what factors? Do you think you qualify for any of them?
I would say I do not qualify. I'm not, no.
Including racial disperities, sexual identity, and a person's age when convicted.
Yes, and I don't have any of that because I'm a colonizer.
Mm-hmm. These new guidelines are
sexual identity when convicted.
And age when convicted.
Okay.
These new guidelines are about impact. They're about having an impact on the lives of hundreds of people in our state, Healey said on WBUR Tuesday. And she said that she will use clemency for a variety of reasons, including whether to address a miscarriage of justice, taking into account the persistence of racial disparities and root causes.
Feeling safe for everybody?
She also said that she would weigh petition for commutation or reducing a sentence. She will consider whether a person is LGBTQ+ or a survivor of sexual assault, domestic violence, or human trafficking. Those who are LGBTQ+ are often at heightened risk of harm and experience additional trauma while incarcerated, the guidelines state.
He was root caused into beating you to death with a brick. Let's let him off easy.
It's a balanced approach that eschews the old way of looking at clemency, Healey said, noting that past governors have taken a more clinical approach to who could qualify for clemency.
How did she not use holistic? I can't believe that.
She's looking at this more from a human equity perspective and how this affects real people in their everyday lives.
In other words, if you live in a sucky community, where a bleep hole community right now, where you have to worry about low crawling to your car in the morning because of gunshots, things are going to get worse for you. That's what that means. Because we can't have the school to prison pipeline anymore. So they're handling this. This is how the progressives handle it on both ends. The fact is that they're growing a bunch of fatherless thugs in many neighborhoods who are carjacking, murdering, and shooting people. But that's because there's no fathers in the home because they've been incarcerated. So we're going to decarcerate the fathers, violent criminals. And we're not going to punish the people committing the crimes because they're young.
If we even bother catching them to start with. Which, did you see that story? There's a story out of D.C., I think it's the Washington Post has it written up, where this woman's car was stolen, carjacked.
Yes.
And her Apple AirTag was in the car. And the police are at her house, and she's showing them on the thing, like, this is where the car is. Look, it's stopping for gas. It's at this car. And they're like, yeah, the city policy is we don't go find them. That's it.
That's the city policy for that's everything. That's everything. It's just the Apple AirTag I have right here. Oh, but can you the straight up artist sketch of the accused or the same thing, the straight up sign language? We don't. No.
We don't do that here anymore.
No. That was the old us. How we used to think about things. No. Now it's a more clinical approach. Alice, what is the hot sauce?
It is the Chelsea Fire Wicked hot sauce.
This is a briefer. Is briefer a word?
Yeah.
This is a briefer.
Chelsea Fire Wicked hotline chat.
Show today because we've got to get kids to play practice and karate
and trick or treating.
Yes. Okay. Where is it? Hey.
Tom.
Yes.
I think you and I need to join forces.
All right.
And figure out what we're going to do with the Kirk Minahan show.
Ooh.
About a week ago, I was ripped on the show because I'm not a huge fan of his producer, Gus.
Yeah.
And on yesterday's show, Kirk had asked if any Minifans had died recently that he knew.
Mm-hmm.
And Cullinane said, I thought we were going to lose Shattuck, but unfortunately we didn't. And Kirk said that you weren't a Minifan.
I know. I heard that.
I can't believe that Cullinane wanted you dead. And Kirk was like, hey, so what? We don't care about him.
That's right. I've been unpersoned.
What's going on here?
I've been unpersoned.
In fairness, you've said you're not a Minifan.
I've been exiled out of the world, unpersoned. I think Dave was actually just trying to get me back in the world. I think he's secretly working on my behalf. I love him. Who was it? Somebody got slammed today. Oh, Danny from Barica got slammed today.
Oh, I didn't listen to the whole
thing. He called up, though. He held his own. Good going for you. Good going, Danny, if you're there. Yeah, vicious. I'm telling you, the show is different now. I'm sorry about that, but it is.
I enjoyed I'm in yesterday's show still with Mike and Dave, which is good. I was enjoying that one.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I didn't listen to today's yet.
Mike and Dave are great, but it's different. But you hand it over to Coleman. It's just a different experience. Kid's 23, has not lived. You don't have a lot of wisdom between. He's a nice guy. He's said some funny things. It's just different. Doesn't matter. But it's just a different. It's been a different animal. You gotta at least have. If I say it, it'll be used against the show. So, different animal. But he knows what he's doing. So it's still a great show.
It's totally unfortunate that we've become a society where a lot of people vote based upon catchphrases, nicknames, and looks, and not about policy.
Yes.
Because we all know Trump was a complete moron, and he got in partly because of the drain the swamp catchphrase, the crooked Hillary nickname.
I would not, by the way, say that Trump is a complete moron. I think that there are ways in which he's much
Trump
more
is
of a
lizard brain smart.
super genius than anybody else. You know, he knows what he cares to know, which is kind of not much. But if it translates into a good presidency, then that's fine with me.
And on paper, Hillary should have dominated him.
Yeah.
But he got in because most voters don't care enough to look at policy. And, you know, when it comes to Nikki Haley, very smart, great resume, but she's going to get votes because she's a female who's decent looking. And I'm sure that's really helped AOC or any attractive politician.
By the way, you lose your femaleness if you're a Republican. So they will absolutely, totally devour Haley. The New York Times will come out with all sorts of ways in which she's not a woman. She's, in fact, a she-devil, B-word, who's a transphobe, etc. They have not begun their work on Nikki Haley. They're telling you they love her right now. You just wait until she's the nominee.
Yeah.
You know, male or female. And it's just unfortunate because a lot of people are getting in when they really don't deserve to. And a lot of candidates, because of appearance or the fact that they don't have a catchphrase, miss out. And it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, some of it, I mean, I get what he's saying. It's like either for women, it's often a looks thing, but some of it's like a charisma thing or an ability to distill things down to like a bumper sticker phrase, like build the wall or whatever. But some of that, I would argue that like Trump's ability to do that, for example, has actually changed the conversation. I mean, like there is not anymore a debate about building the wall. There's a debate about how much and where and how to pay for it, which is sort of the point of the Trump build the wall thing. But, you know, but some of it is charisma and some of, and that like, yeah, fair or not, like I think Ron DeSantis would be a great president, but if you can't capture that lightning in a bottle, then you can't do it. If you're not able to command people's interest and respect that way, like people just like Trump. They just do.
Right.
You know, and I think there's something to that with the women too. Like if you look like AOC, people just like you more.
Yeah.
I mean, you like AOC more.
Well, yeah, because she's hot.
More than Cori Bush.
Yes. But with someone like Trump, I also think that he deserves credit now for being so prescient on so much. And, I think people can notice some of that. And also, I mean, there is no finer slogan than everything woke turns to shit. That was a Trumpism, and it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Succinct. Perfect. So, yeah.
He's really good at that.
Yeah, he's good at that. And he happens to be on the right side of most stuff. It's weird because you don't know how he gets there.
I know, it seems like a very random process, but he somehow ends up in the right spot every time. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Happy Halloween. Be safe when you're out trick-or-treating and everything. Don't let the kids eat any candy with razor blades in it.
Make sure you behave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Take it to the dentist, have it all x-rayed, make sure there's nothing hiding in any of those candy bars. All that stuff.
Listen to the All You Can Eat podcast where we had a thorough, comprehensive review of Halloween candy.
I know, I haven't even listened to that yet. You did that part without me. So that's the All You Can Eat podcast. If you want to join us for live streams and the live chat and all that, that's patreon.com/burnbarrel. Of course, the show is always free at burnbarrelpodcast.com and wherever you like to listen to podcasts. C'est La Vie. Ice cream. Ice cream.